Hello, and welcome to Into the MoTaverse. This is a podcast from the Ministry of Testing, aka the MoTaverse. Today we have Susanne Abdelrahman with us. We've been trying to get talking, get connected for quite a while. It's almost turned into a little bit of a joke, but a few months back we had a Leading with Quality conversation. And I just remember having so much fun chatting to her and talking about things. And basically, I wanted to invite her back as an excuse just to catch up, because when you're adults and adulting and trying to work and trying to raise families, it's sometimes you need a really good excuse to just show up. And that's how we show up sometimes. But yeah, she's back with us. It's very cool to have her here. She's had roles in the past as testing, quality engineering management, and now she's more in an engineering management role with AI stuff as well. But yeah, I think it's interesting to catch up and see how things are. See what your world looks like, Susanne. So thank you for being here.
Thanks. So just super excited to be here. Just one thing. I was in engineering management when I was at Dropbox, but my current role is in program management. So it's actually been like a transition from testing to engineering management focused on quality to technical program management focused on like engineering, product design, and like data science, working across all of those functions to deliver products, and also like how do we work with the rest of the company as well. And so it's sort of like an expansion, or I don't know, a shift. It's different.
So what would you say is the difference between program management and engineering management? Because sometimes they can maybe look the same, but it might vary between companies.
So it might be like a difference in how companies use the title maybe, but like engineering management I see is focused on like a technical team that in some ways leverages coding or works within like the build phase of the product development lifecycle maybe. And so typically those are software engineers, developers, quality engineers, SDETs, those types of roles. And so they're focused on like getting those technical teams through the build phase and like connecting with like the product teams and design teams before, and the DevOps, IT, etc. customers on the after side of things. And so for program management, what I'm doing is sort of a layer above, where I'm not just looking at how the engineering teams are getting through and working through the build phase, but product and design, when we're ideating and coming up with ideas, and how do we intake from the rest of the business and our customers and line that up with our business goals and connect with engineering, and what does that boundary look like? And as I describe it, and like I can go through the rest, but as I describe it, it sort of sounds like a siloed type of thing, but really the whole point is to make sure that there's a flow, and that there isn't really silos that folks are working in, but rather phases. And at the boundaries, there's this interconnection between where we need to work and what we need to deliver and how we need to do that together. And so just looking across that entire process from pie in the sky, maybe we might want to build this thing, to like, oh wow, we shipped it and now we're checking out how it's working and seeing if it's doing what we want it to and meeting the needs of our users, and what does that loop back look to, and that loop back look like, and connecting that with the rest of the business and lining that up to the strategy. And so it's a lot, and it's sort of different, I think, across companies. But that's the perspective that I'm taking. And also, I'm an org of one right now, so I'm needing to like really prioritize what it is that I'm focusing on. But like as we make improvements to some of these things that we're working through, and I look to grow the team, like these are the areas that I expect we'll be focusing.
For context, how big is the organization that you work for?
About 250-ish, I think.
Okay.
And so it's not a small startup, but not a super large company. I came from, like, I started my career at a startup that ranged from about 100 to maybe, I think, 250, 300. Went to a company that I think we were at like 2,500, and engineering was in the hundreds. I don't remember, but it was a lot of folks, not counting product and design and QA and technical program management and data and all of those folks that we work with. And so it's nice to be. And when I was at that larger company, I was focused on. I was an engineering manager focused on quality, and so I led a small team of SDETs and quality engineers it was like a team of 5 working across 15 to 30, depending on when, engineering, product, and design teams. And so it was a lot of like looking across everything or the groups of teams or products or whatever that made sense, and distilling information and finding themes and coaching and trying to like sort of influence change across a range of roles and lots of like groups of people without any authority over them by trying to convince them of like where we're trying to go. What is the quality issue that we're focused on in this context, right? Like, and we would look across different things like bugs, the way like our technical documentation providing what we need it to at the time of build, is our PRDs, like how many times are we going back and forth with questions, just really looking at how we're building, how we're working together, and how that impacts our product quality specifically, and working with the teams to improve those. And so taking that, like that was sort of a skill that I developed there, and being able to take that perspective and include my beliefs about what you need to do to build quality software, right? And how you need to do that, and applying it not just to engineering teams or an engineering org, but to like an entire product development life cycle, is how this evolution happened. And I mentioned like influencing without like real authority. That is my jam, right? Like in QA, that is what most of the time, that's what you need to do. You have no authority over the engineers that you work with to be able to tell them, hey, like I need you to like your code needs to meet this bar, like this needs to happen. You need to write these tests before you ship to production or whatever it is. Typically, quality engineers don't have the authority to make that call. And so like, and I wrote, I mean, you know this, I wrote 2 articles for the software quality engineering certificate, which is super cool. Very excited to be a part of it. And so, but they were focused on how you can influence the teams that you work with without authority, and at a higher level, the stakeholders that you need to sort of be able to influence the decisions that they make, who impact or gosh, that was a word salad. You need to be able to influence the stakeholders that you work with, because the decisions that they make impact the teams that build the products, and all of that flows through to quality. And there's this, I don't know, like I think what makes me really enjoy this work, and it's the type of work that I've gravitated to from when I started as a tester, like working with my teams as an IC, like partnering with developers and product managers, and to when I went into engineering management. And then I was less focused on the actual product and more focused on like the teams that were building it. And now, as I'm in program management and I'm looking across the teams that are building it and the systems that we use to connect it horizontally and vertically to our users, our business, it's really at the core of it. I really enjoy this work because I really, really care. I really care about not just, I care about developing quality software. Yes, that's my job. But I care about the environment that I work in and the culture of the companies that I'm a part of, and the way that teams approach sort of these hard problems of trying to like align on conflicting priorities and tell each other that like, hey, I think you're wrong and we may need to do something this way. Or like there's so much potential tension and conflict and that you need to work through as you build software. And I don't know, now I'm in an interesting place where I get to not just try and make us deliver value faster or well, but I get to really impact how it feels for us to do that. And as somebody who really, really cares about all of it, and I think like I can see the ripple effects of my wanting to improve things in this way for my team. I can see the other folks carrying that forward and championing it, maybe without realizing it on their teams. And that's the cultural changes that I'm talking about, or cultural, I don't want to say changes, like things that we want to improve about how we work together, but also changes to our quality practices, changes to the way that we communicate with outside of engineering to our product and design partners, and the way that we think about, like, it's all of it. There's an impact when you care about not just like what you're producing, but the path to getting there. You really can up level. I think it makes quality of the product better in the end. I haven't been able to prove it yet, but I'm working on my annual goals for it's 3 months late, but I'm working on my 2026 goals for this quarter or for this org. And part of it is like trying to find how I'm going to measure what it is that I'm trying to do. And so maybe we can have another chat after that and continue that conversation if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. End of year podcast review
Sure.
could be interesting.
Yeah. Where are they now?
Do you feel like things have shifted, I guess, from the context of what I would say the world, in quotes, the state of the world, and that could come from many angles, but obviously, like the big one is just the world changing constantly. I guess from nation to nation for whatever's happening in all the nations at the moment.
Yeah.
But then there's obviously AI, and I guess everyone questioning everything and what we're doing and where our roles exist, and coding development is changing, testing quality is changing. It doesn't seem to stay still for more than a month, and it's like the next thing, and every month we're kind of mind blown about things. And I think like as businesses we're probably all questioning like, well, how are we supposed to exist in this world. For me, it's definitely like shown up in the idea of care is like my number one thing. Is I've kind of shifted both from a community perspective, like my community works somewhat separately that I write about, but all of that is practiced through the MoTaverse. But this idea of care is like, that's my like number one thing, is that I show up because I care. I'm trying to figure out how to build a business that cares or that shows care. I'm trying to communicate that we care, and it doesn't always come across right. But I'm trying. I'm trying to explain the decisions that I make and show that I care, but not everyone agrees or listens. Especially like from a community perspective, not everyone will understand the decisions we make. And I guess like, yeah, also like from a MoTaverse perspective is like, actually staying the same to me. I can't do that because it doesn't feel like I care enough. It's almost like I care so much that we have to do more, because the more we do in the MoTaverse, the more I'm like, oh, I see something now. I see this opportunity, or I see that we have to go in this direction. And if I don't go in that direction, does that mean that I don't care enough? Is that, or I want to go in that direction because I care, because I see like we could create a better world or a better tech world, or help
Mm.
others to explore tech because we care. But yeah, I guess like I wonder how that shows up in your world, and perhaps like how it's changed as well, like in the past 2 to 5 years maybe. Is like, I don't feel like I was in this place, a few years ago. My mind wasn't quite there, but
Mm.
now I'm trying to think about what is it that we're building. And as I get older, I'm 47, but like getting closer to 50, I'm like, I've got one life to live.
Yes.
um you
God, I
know
resonate so much.
and I'm like, I want to make sure I do my best work. And for me, it's like, I don't want to spend time working on the wrong things, behaving the wrong way, just working on things that don't matter or that don't mean stuff for me.
Mm.
But I wonder. I do think about like the transition that so many companies are going through, both from like a leadership level, right?
Mm.
But also like this the individual level, that almost like engineering management, program management, all these kind of leadership roles. They're more stressful than ever, but perhaps more important than ever, to really have the care and the ethics at the center of what we do.
Yeah. So sorry, were you going to say more? I don't want to interrupt.
No, no,
Cool.
go for it.
Excuse me. So I have so many thoughts about like a lot of what you just said, right? Like, I think these are all connected. I really resonate with that feeling of like, I only have one life. And like, I I'm 42. I just turned 42. So, like, I I'm getting like, I've reached this point where I look back at a lot of, my younger years, earlier in my career, where I didn't trust myself maybe, I questioned myself, I held myself back, and I look back now, or even when I would do that, like I would maybe I'd be in a meeting and I'd think about something that I wanted to say, and I'd sort of battle with like, well, should I add it? Is it valuable? And then somebody else, probably usually more senior, because I'm on top of my game like that, would say the same thing that I was thinking, and I would kick myself because like, man, like I that was my idea, right? Yes. And of course, then I would do the good coworker thing and be like, yes, like let's work together and be on board. But I held myself back in those situations. And now it's like I don't want to waste time doing that anymore. And you use this phrase about be audacious a lot in like the when you post about the multiverse. And I at the same time that you started doing that, like I also sort of reached this point in my life where it was like, I'm just gonna the things that feel scary might be the things that I really need to do. That, like those when you want to grow and we're veering from testing here. I'll bring it back. um, but the thing, when you want to grow, when you're on the edge of growth, that feels uncomfortable. And so it takes effort to keep yourself there. And I've really decided that fear is not the thing, or discomfort, right? Fear is a strong word. There's a lot going on right now. Discomfort in my career is not a good reason for me to not do something that's going to have that's going to help me learn or grow or whatever, help me get something that I do want, but I'm holding myself back from. And so I think that what's going on in the world, and I use that as an umbrella term, right? Like every country is dealing with lots of countries are dealing with lots of different things going on, not getting into any of the details. There's AI that's coming in and flipping everything on its head. And there are a lot of questions that folks have. And I think maybe it's for me too, it's making me confront some of those fears in public at work. And that's because I care. And so AI, for example, I'm leading this AI enablement initiative across the company. And it's really about how do we get our folks using and leveraging AI in the right ways, in ways that are safe for the company, for our users, but also in ways that support their growth instead of, right, trying to copy their role and automate everything away. Acknowledging that as we push this grunt work, right, these tasks off to AI, that's the work that, first of all, AI still needs a human in the loop often, with solid judgment, usually based on experience, to validate the output. And that's across the spectrum. If you're a writer, you're writing a blog post, right? You say hey, AI, make me this blog post. It spits out this beautiful looking thing. And you're like, that looks great. Let me post it. And if you're not a writer, or sorry, if you are a writer, that was the not a writer case. If you are a writer, what AI spits out, you're just that looks like AI first of all, so I'm going to change all of it. But also, it doesn't connect in the way that the writer written piece might have. And the logic isn't there, or the reasoning behind the writing, the emotion, none of it is there because it uses probability to string words together. And so that judgment that we use, that experienced folks use to validate and refine the outputs to get to something really great using AI at the end, comes with doing that grunt work over time and building those skills. And so now that we're handing that off to AI, how are we building up juniors? How are we accounting for getting people to the place where they have that judgment without the ways that we've built it in the past? How do we support the career growth of our people, right? And that comes from care. That's me saying, yes, I want to use AI to improve our business and make our company money and make us more efficient and all of the things that our business wants. But I also want to use AI I also want to maybe validate and try and solve out in the open the challenges that we're facing with AI, and acknowledge the ethical concerns that lots of folks are going to have as companies and people need to make the decision, do I want to contribute to this thing that maybe I don't agree with, but I sort of need to for my career stability? That's all real. That's all, people are working through this right now. And I think not acknowledging it, folks can take that approach. Lots maybe are, but for me, if you really care about not just the company, but the company, including the people that make that company up, and the users and the products and the broader world, you need to insert care into your work, into gosh, like how you move through the world, how you think about things. And I don't know, I've started rambling, and this is not really focused anymore. So we can bring it back to something else or dig in on something if you want.
Well, I was wondering, as you were saying that, when you think about AI enablement, do you have any thoughts, ideas, or tips about the human angle and like the concern of people thinking, "Oh, we're just going to enable AI and it puts our jobs at risk," or I guess maybe it's like, what are the conversations from up above about what they want to get out of AI? Is it purely efficiency? Is it, like from a testing perspective, like some of the new tools I see coming out, it looks quite exciting to me. Especially as things are improving, I'm kind of thinking like, oh, all the grunt work that humans probably didn't do very well, agentic type testing kind of stuff. It just happens, and maybe it's not perfect, but humans aren't perfect anyways. And I kind of think, isn't that amazing that humans can be freed up to do all the things that they perhaps wish they had time to do, but never did. But maybe that's me being too optimistic and thinking, well, it's just going to happen and it's just going to lay people off because that the job's done. But I get excited about AI freeing time up to do other things, all the things we could do, or the ability to move faster, like in different ways that we were never able to do, instead of defaulting to what kind of feels like, oh, we're saving money, so we're going to lay people off. We don't need them, so we're going to lay people off.
Yeah,
Which is, I think, is fair, to some extent.
it's a reasonable business decision, right?
Yeah, I mean, like last year, the year before, I was thinking, do I hire more so that we can do more? But now I'm thinking, no, I don't want to hire. It's just like the world is too chaotic to hire. But I definitely think we could ship more, not just through AI, but just simply through efficiencies. We have been shipping more through efficiencies and
Mhm.
finding flow within our team. Like, I think we work amazingly together as like a really small team. We're not really using AI at the moment, not for like big stuff, maybe smaller things, um, but now I'm thinking, I kind of want to start spending time. I want to have like a day a week just
Yeah,
to spend with Claude, or something, and see what can be done. Get a better feel for what can be achieved, right? Because like the more I talk to people, I'm like, this is amazing. This is so exciting.
it
But it's,
really is.
but in my head, I don't go to that. I want to do this so I can be an organization of one. I'm like, I want to do this so we can like just do so much better for create a better business,
Yeah.
and maybe someday that will mean hiring more people. And I think that would be amazing. But at the moment, it's like chaotic world, but it's like it's exciting, and that's that's where my mind goes to. But then there's reality as well.
Yeah, and I haven't, I don't have data to back this up, right? Like, but I do wonder whether some of the layoffs that have been attributed to AI are really just the financial business decisions spun to look better, frankly. Um, but again, no data to back that up, just purely a personal opinion. Uh, the the way that like, I don't have answers. The way that I've been trying to approach it now is by acknowledging in public the fears that folks have by having so like the way that we've sort of structured it is we have a steering committee at the top, and we like it's chief product officer or chief security officer or like a IT head of IT, and we sort of just like talk about how to set the tone and the structure for the lower layers to move quickly on like plans and define what they even are and a bunch of others. But like bringing up conversations from like the groups of like, hey, like I have this concern about so soon after I joined, I had to give a presentation about like how engineering is using AI at the current company at our offsite. And so I had just joined, I had very little information. So it was basically like a presentation with a bunch of GIFs where I talk talk through sort of the tools that we're using and some of the plans that we had for the next year. And this was back in November or October. And open it up for questions. And one of the things that I acknowledged in that presentation was this, hey, we're going to lose, if we use this the wrong way, we could lose this ability to train up juniors. And there was sort of an appreciation, like an engineer on the team raised their hand afterwards when I opened up for questions, and it was just like, I appreciate that you raised that point. And it was like to the entire company, because I think people don't really realize some of the potential downsides, outside of course, like what might impact them, the loss of their job, and right. People don't maybe realize some of the potential downsides more broadly to broad use of AI. And so acknowledging those to the broader group, and also like at the senior level. So when we started talking about that, we got the message down from like the exec level and down to the teams. Like, we want to use AI to not speed folks up, but like free folks up to do the things that's really valuable for them to do. But like the result of even just caring enough to acknowledge that concern, and recognize it as something that, like, even if we didn't have a solution for, because nobody really does yet, I don't think, we can say like, hey, there's this thing that we know is a problem that we care about and are going to keep an eye on, and we'll try to figure out ways to, put up guardrails or work through those as we go, TBD what they are, because we're still at the early stages. But the acknowledgement from leadership of like, hey, like, this is not an intention to let folks go because we're going to gain efficiencies. And also, as we ask folks to put together their strategies for how they're using AI, there's this focus on like, not just what are you going to use it for, but like, what does that do for you? What does that open up or free up for you to be able to focus on instead? And so it's really just, we want to leverage the resources. Like, we want to help our team do the work that they were hired to do and that they're best at and that they're subject matter experts in. And if we can offload some of that grunt work that gets us there to AI to let us do more of that, that's what we want to do, right? And like what you mentioned about wanting to spend a day a week or something, you messing around with Claude. Like, I'm over here speaking like I know a bunch about AI. I opened up Claude I set it up last week for the first time, and I had been messing around with other tools, but like Claude Code I just installed, and now it's like almost a daily, like I can't work without it personally, right? And I just got it installed at work, and so yay. But there's so much that, like, when you free up some of these, like, pushing stuff around, some of the work, pushing stuff around, information, whatever, and condensing and synthesizing, and you just bubbling that information up for you to apply your judgment. There's so many ideas that you get about like, hey, as you're working through other things, I'm frustrated by this and it's taking me too long, and I think I could just whoop, like connect them and somehow make this process better. And there's a lot of that happens as you start to use the tools. And that's what I'm excited about. This connection of like, we're going to have a lot of free time, hopefully, if things go well. And there's going to be all of this creativity that's unlocked and excitement as people start to use these new things. And what does that coming together look like and get for us? And yes, as a company, but like as a world, right? Like, I am excited about that. And I'm also nervous about data centers and the cost of water and, and like all, stealing from artists and like all of the things that we have ethical concerns about around AI that many folks do, and like using it to replace workers. And what does that do on like the broad, just like population? Like if we need less people working, what does that mean for society? Those things are scary and they're real. And I'm not going to pretend they're not there, but I'm also excited about the other stuff and kind of hopeful that we're not always going to need massive data centers that use lots and lots of water to stay cool. And we're going to find better ways to do this. And maybe more people will start caring as the ripple of care moves out in reaction to some of the wild stuff that's going on across the world right now. And so I have to have hope and be hopeful and hold the good energy that I have, or feelings, excitement about AI, hold that alongside some of like the fear maybe. And I don't know, that was a lot, but that's sort of where
It's interesting because I was thinking like again as you were talking, I was wondering like how we perceive AI. So there's there's the most obvious thing like AI generated images are just like everywhere. The next thing in line is probably AI generated content, which people are just like so sick of, and you can tell it's AI generated just from the tone and most of the time, or the structure,
yeah,
if this or that, or you're absolutely right kind of stuff.
yeah,
But I do wonder that if all of that will kind of hopefully in time become irrelevant, because we start using the tools for actually getting stuff done rather than these more superficial things that everyone sees on the top level. But like you were saying, like you use Claude, you just started using it last week, and it's already become a habit of using it, checking in with it, doing whatever it is you do with it. But the output of that is not necessarily as visible. It's helping you do stuff. It's helping you solve problems.
helping me
Um,
through my thinking and question.
yeah,
Like it helps me grow almost, right? Like it helps me apply. It's like having like somebody who can poke holes in, like question like if you want and use it this way, it could be a tool that helps you question your assumptions and things you might not. What is it called when you hold like a, what's the word? I'm forgetting the word right now, but it makes you sort of like take a look at yourself like a mirror, and refine your own work. And like I think that's one of the exciting ways to do it, or to use it, in addition to like like getting work or getting things done. I remember this cartoon, this like drawing that I saw, a comic actually, that was like, I wanted machines or AI to do my laundry and wash my dishes and clean my house so
mm,
that I can make art and write poetry, right? And it's the other way around right now. And I really hope that as the novelty of the tool wears off, and as we learn how to leverage it maybe best, and still keep our humanity and genuineness and originality, like all of the things that make us human, I'm hopeful that we'll stop. I mean, on LinkedIn, it's just every post is like one sentence, and then let me show you why it's this, not that. And then it's just like, yes, please, I'm done. I don't want to read anymore.
I can't bear it. I literally can't bear it, and like it's forcing us to change, which is interesting as well. And sometimes it's not. bad, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like, we made the decision that, like, in the MoTaverse, like, you could post moments. They were called memories, but now they're called moments. You could post moments for free as a free user. And you could post a few things for free, like you could post a job for free and stuff like that. But then as I saw like things changing, I don't know if you saw Dig. They tried to relaunch,
Oh
and then
yes, I
and
did.
then they had to shut it down
I
because
was
they
part
got
of like the initial beta group, and then they shut it down.
shut it down because of AI bots. Just over. You know, just what's the word? Just spamming it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it does. So, as an aside, I'm a big fan of Reddit. I love reading. Like, there's communities that I'm not a part of in my life that it's so interesting to sort of learn about. There's a side of Reddit, I'm sure, I stay away from, but I'm really curious how Reddit handles the same thing because I'm sure they get like this overload of spam bots. But
They've got
yeah,
a bot problem. Yeah, they've got. Yeah, I don't know how they're handling it. It's kind of. I think the assumption is that they're not, because how do you handle posts that sound very human but
mm,
aren't? And actually, I wrote a moment on this on the Motiverse recently, just yesterday, I think, because there was a post on Reddit that was kind of going around. It was like screenshotted and going around, and it was about how a company laid off half the QA team, and then they now have all these, and they replaced it with AI, a lot of it with AI, and then now the quality is just, has gone down massively, loads of bugs. There's all these quotes there. And I looked at it and I was like, it sounds true, but is it true? Um, and I went and I searched the actual Reddit post. And if you look at the history of the account, there's not much history there. It's quite a new account.
mhm,
And I'm just like, I looked at the comments, and some of the comments were like, this is probably AI spam. Um, but it sounds genuine, but the username doesn't look genuine. It looks, very generic. And it's like, what kind of a world are we living in where you don't know what the truth is anymore? It's
yes,
just random. And it sounds true, and people are quick to react. And just the more I see that happening, the more I'm like, I get why people have liked Reddit in the past, and it's always had some issues. How can you not have issues with uh, with that kind of scale?
yeah,
But at the same time, it's just like this. A lot of this stuff is just not true, and it's like, why are people even spending their time
yeah,
doing that? It's like, it's like I don't even know where it's going with all of that kind of stuff. But it's like that it's been taken as truth, and it sounds truthful in that case.
yeah,
Um, but it's sending fear across everyone. It's like, oh, um, people are laying off QA people, and then they're regretting it. But in the back of people's mind, it's like, people are getting laid off. Am I next getting laid off? Or what happens if I do get laid off as a QA tester? What happens to the quality? Is this what's going to happen to the quality? But there's no verification. There's no actual truth to any of it.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's a problem, right? And it's getting shared everywhere, and especially on places like LinkedIn, where that like to be very, very, I just, you know, I I'm struggling to believe any of the stories out there. Not because they're unintentional, not because people are like lying, but it's just because you don't really know the truth anymore, which is influencing like how I want to exist in the world. I'm like, is that actually happening? Um, there's a thing called someone called a thing the announcement economy. So it's certain uh, politicians are very good at this, but just generally, even AI companies are very good at this. They make announcements, and it impacts the stock prices, or impacts their competitors, and things go up, things go down as a result of their announcements. But then, if you look at the history of their announcements, people forget about it the next day, and they're not actually true, or they don't follow through on their promises. And everyone's so quick to kind of they want to put a statement out that we're going to do this. This is where we're heading now, rather than this is what we've done. And maybe that's maybe that's where I hope the future is going, or where at least I'm trying to exist in the world, is I kind of have I've been saying a lot recently that I don't like to make promises or share the plans of what we're doing, not because I'm trying to hide anything, or not because I don't want to tell people,
Yeah.
but it's more because I just don't know if I'll be able to execute on it, even with good intention. So,
Right.
our way of operating, in the past 12 to 24 months, is just we ship, and we try our best to communicate what we ship. This is what we've done. This is,
Yeah.
and we try to just show it. It's you look at our website, and it's we're showing you what we've done, right? This is how we show we care, right? We're not talking about it. We're not pontificating about, oh yes, we could do that, or yes, let's have a meeting to discuss that, or yes, let's build a strategy around this to see, and then 6 months later we still haven't made progress. I mean, that's the reality of, so many existences, ours as well in the past. But it's just this idea of I don't want to make promises anymore. I just want to, how can we show better what we've done, rather than all these false things, promises that are serving no one but people who want to gain attention, or who benefit from that, right?
Yeah.
And the culture around that, I think, would be a lot healthier. It's this is what we've done. We can learn from it. We can share it and say this is the truth as well, right?
Yeah.
It's you know,
Like it's an actual thing instead of something that doesn't exist yet. And like I keep thinking about the problem that AI puts forth about we don't know what's real anymore, right? Like what stories are real, what photos are real. You have to you can't take at face value anything. There needs to be more validation. And that it feels very or kind of parallel to similar things from early in the internet, right? Or as the internet became more popular. I remember my first office job out of college. Um, there was a line. I was at this tech startup that I transitioned into QA from, but my first job was to scrape the web for information, basically. Um, and one of the requirements listed in the description was something like the ability to validate information on the internet is true or not, right? Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Um, and this has been an issue since people tell stories. They like to make themselves look good. I think it's human nature. And so now we have tools that help us feel that way faster and help us spew it out to everybody. And I think the reaction to that is, and it's interesting that people are able so quickly now to be like, oh yeah, that's AI. I don't really believe that. And the comments on Reddit posts, the comments on LinkedIn posts, people recognize when something isn't real. And I think the reaction to all of this fake stuff out there now, or maybe things that aren't believable, is this desire to go back to community and things that are just that you can point to and hold and people you can see in front of you. Like, I think there's this going to be this like reactive, or what's the word when something hits something and then it's okay.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be this push as a
Yeah.
result of this fakeness, this like desire for people to turn to communities that feel real, and not just feel real, like are real. and and I know that at MLT y'all are really working on that. So like I could there I've been coming around the MOT site since I was a junior tester. And when I was still learning and rising in my career, I was there a lot on the message boards and learning and chatting and connected with like folks from across the community who were there. And then I sort of, like got busy in my career, stepped away a bit. And the last couple of years, I could really feel like I've come back, and I was still working when I started sort of like checking it out again, and checking out the message board and starting to read some of the articles, and then following folks on LinkedIn who were associated with the community. And I've really felt sort of the care that y'all have put into the changes that you're making on the site. And I see these little deliveries of like new exciting features that y'all are bringing as like fun surprises to run into, and I'd much rather have those than like a roadmap of stuff that y'all are sharing. And so as a user, you're doing a great job.
And in some sense, I think like partly I have AI to thank for that, because like the community world out there is so enshittified. But maybe part of the impact of AI is we're going to have to change. And to me, like at times that can feel stressful. I put out a meme the other day of like, constantly like kombucha girl meme. And it's like, oh, yes. Oh, interesting AI. Oh, not very interesting AI. Kind of like my mood changing
Yeah.
like almost daily. It's like, oh, this is so exciting. Oh, this is stressful. This is not good. Maybe there's balance in that. Maybe it's a bit, it goes both ways too much at the moment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like as a result, we all have to change. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's much choice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm trying to, when a lot of people like, especially like from the community perspective, it's like they're trying to think of like fancy new solutions for community,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like how moderation is such a problem at the moment, and it is. Um, or like as much as I love the Fediverse, Mastodon, and all these, there's been so many attempts in the Fediverse type world trying to create new solutions to things and new protocols, and it's just so confusing, right? It just like goes over so many people's heads. I was reading about another one that involved, ensuring that you own your content and it's validated. It's slightly a bit crypto style stuff, but it's so that the web can't be enshittified and big tech can't own your content. But I
Mm-hmm.
was reading that and I was just like, I don't understand what you're trying to build. It just
Yeah.
like makes it's so confusing, right? So there's people trying to build other stuff, which partly is great, but I think it also has contributed to the problem. And I'm trying to think about, so, so if we have a community in the world of AI, what is the solution
Mm-hmm.
to building good community? And we're not actually building anything new. We're just putting in like human boundaries or
Yeah.
reusing ideas of yesterday's internet. Like, the observatory is essentially links. You can add links.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing new with that, right? But the big social platforms have built algorithms around links, so it's like, you're not supposed to post links because your post will perform worse because you're posting a link. And I'm like, that shouldn't be the case.
Right, like,
So it's like,
cool stuff.
so,
Yeah,
so it's like, yeah, and it's
it's
like,
taking away that algorithm, that like machine putting their fingers and mucking stuff up, and just giving people like, it's like just connecting person to person. This person sharing a link to a bunch of other people because they think it's valuable, and that validates that information from the rest of the AI slop that folks are sharing out. And you're removing that like machine saying, I think this is what you want. And I think that's awesome.
yeah. And people want links, right? And why shouldn't people be able to post links and get inbound traffic and from the links? I know that you post your blogs there, your blog posts every time, and that's cool. That's the way it's supposed to be, isn't that cool? That you've got somewhere to share your work, because at the moment, where else do you share it? Because like the social platforms just like hide it as much as they can.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think the interesting thing is like we almost have to question like what it is that we care about and brings value, and like uh, a lot of people say like the web is enshittified because of advertising, but I
Mhm.
kind of push back on that because we've implemented ads on MOT, but
Yeah.
it helps us survive. It's not done in a bad way. And again, it's like all these Fediverse implementations are saying ads are bad, but I don't think ads are necessarily bad. It's just they've been given a bad name in the way that they've been implemented by big social tech.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's the implementation without caring about everything. It's really about what you prioritize as you're implementing ads, I think, more than the ads themselves.
and then if you're trying to build a sustainable business, how can you build it on all these new protocols that don't have any traction? It doesn't work when you're thinking of like the systems, right, that we live in. But you can build it on ads, right? We get some of our revenue from ads, and people understand the fact that, oh, we get ads, so we'll spend some of our money in the metaverse instead of spending it on LinkedIn ads. I'm like, yes, yes, please, yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
But it's like having that right, that level of, we're building something. We don't have to have new technology to build it,
Yeah.
but it's but maybe now in the world of AI, maybe that is somehow becoming, for me, it's becoming more obvious. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, we run a community. Oh, how can we make it better? Oh, there's AI slop. It's just in the past month or two, we're like, no AI slop anywhere on our website. It's like nothing. We allow nothing through our doors. You have to be human.
Yeah.
You have to, we haven't written it yet, but we've got an AI policy. I forget the word for it, but basically AI code of conduct thing that we're going to be implementing, and just doubling down on being harder from that. But it sounds stressful, but actually it's like, well, we're innovating, because like the flip side is of that are other tech communities that are not doing anything about it,
Hmm.
and there's like AI slop everywhere. So
Yeah.
um,
And I'm hopeful and excited that, and I do think that like over time, people are gonna reject communities that don't do what MOT is doing, right? Like other tech communities, like I said, like I'm not on a bunch of other tech communities. I love MOT. MOT is where I am usually, but like people are recognizing AI content and they're commenting on it and they're rejecting it, and like when communities, like if communities don't start like blocking that stuff from being posted, I don't imagine that many folks will stick around, right? And like they'll look for places like MOT and others where there's an opportunity to read or to take in content from folks are real, about opinions that are human, right? Like I think I know. Oh gosh, I have a meeting I need to run to for work.
Yeah, yeah,
But, like,
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, it's been a nice, long-winded, roundabout conversation. But it's
I
amazing
really
to catch
enjoyed it.
up.
Thank you for inviting me back. Sincerely, I really hope we do this again.
And the most important thing is that we are not AI, right? And I hope that's obvious.
Oh
And this
no, totally not.
conversation is, yeah, that
Look,
we can't fake three fingers. I think it's a three fingers thing, not
not AI.
AI.
It's gonna be like a new dance. I should get my kids to post it on TikTok.
Thank you for spending the time with me, Susanne, and I'll see you in the MoTaverse.